Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it, man. What the fuck's going on, Jesse, man? It's April 1st, April Fool's Day, man.
April Fools, because here in Missouri, it's freezing cold outside, and there's snow on the ground, and it should be beautiful, but it's not. It's like fucking like post-apocalyptic winter outside in springtime, and it's actually not that bad.
It was very nice though. It legitimately raining nice earlier today.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. Someone told me in the Farmer's Almanac that they actually called for weather like this for April 1st. So that for one time they're right. I don't know how right they are, but
that shit's still really accurate. Like, that was from like Ben Franklin's day, like the Farmer's Almanac. Like, I don't know who's sitting down and able to like figure that shit out back in like the, you know, like I'm assuming like the early 1800s, you know. But
well, farmers got it down, man. I mean, they probably got it from the Mayans and shit because they were so good at doing shit like that.
Well, it's detrimental for their career, and what they do is to know the weather.
Yeah.
You know, because if you got to pull your crops fucking early this year, or you know, you can let them grow a little bit longer this year. Like, that's, you know, that's your livelihood. Because you go fucking around like if you need to predict a day like today when you haven't harvested yet, and then all of a sudden ice comes in and kills everything, and your whole, like, whatever it is, 6 months worth of work is ruined. Oh, dude, the farming lifestyle, man, that sounds horrible, dude. You should appreciate it.
Though. Good money.
No, it's not good money.
It was at one point before Monsanto's
I know,
came in.
The government literally has to pay people now to farm. The government will come and supplement their income to make sure that they stay farmers, because it's so expensive being a farmer.
Well, that's because also they were forced to put bullshit on their crops and all that stuff with Monsanto. I mean, they closed massive like slaughterhouses and farmers and stuff like that with crops and stuff. I don't know how far to the extent, but they're forced to use their product now. I mean, you can look into it, man.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of the farmers, they would reseed. You know, their seeds would grow every year. With Monsanto, you have to buy their product once a year, because if you don't, your crops won't grow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's all monopolized, man. It all is. It's crazy.
No, it's to be a farmer is definitely one of those, you're dedicated because you love the lifestyle and you truly enjoy doing what you're doing. And I think it's the seclusion, and I want to say more introverted people. I'm not saying farmers are introverted, but it's a more introverted lifestyle, and they just enjoy the lifestyle of it, because nobody gets into farming for the fucking money nowadays. Like I swear to God, like, there is no, like, if you're just a small time farmer, like, you work your dick off from sun up to sundown, like, every day.
But you're doing whatever you want. You're your own boss, and
you're out in like Mother Nature. I'm sure they love being out in nature. You know, they're sportsmen. They probably love hunting and, you know, everything that goes along with it. But I think you have to love the lifestyle that goes along with it.
Somebody was telling me, a friend of mine, Jeff, he was telling me that he knows someone who has like a third of an acre or an acre of a backyard, so something similar to the size of what I have, and he literally just grows, you know, fruits, vegetables, all that good stuff, and he says he makes quite a bit of money. A lot of money, yeah.
Well, I can also see that too, given our millennial generation that's coming into money. Everything has to be handmade. Like, they love handmade furniture. They love like organic, grown by one fucking.
What is organic? Fuck organic, man. It's just it's a fruit. It's a vegetable. Yeah. It's not organic.
Yeah. Well,
it's contaminated or it's not contaminated.
Yeah. And the odds that you're getting something that's completely uncontaminated, I think you would have to go so far away from any kind of place. Like, around Kansas City, there's going to be some kind of contaminant. Like, you just can't go in your backyard and, you know, have a perfectly flawless, like, vegetable that has no chemical in it whatsoever, that's not from some type of pollutant that's in the air. I'm not going to get into chemtrails right now. That's one thing that came up into my mind too. There's just too much industry. It's too much industry. You would have to get very geologically far away,
for sure,
from industry, and something that's very untouched by man, if you're going to get like the full wholesomeness. And maybe Mother Nature has a way of like filtering the shit out, you know, and preventing it from getting into it.
I thought about that, man. Maybe Mother Nature does like have the answer to all of man's pollutions, you know, like maybe it just does it on its own and we don't know about it.
I would like to think that.
Yeah.
Because life isn't so easily completely annihilated. I understand, like, you go through cycles of, extinction. But life has been on this planet for quite a long time, and it's never been fully destroyed just yet. So I want to say that life is resilient. It's like, what's his name from Jurassic Park? The curly haired, the dark.
Chris Pratt?
No. I'm talking old school Jurassic Park.
I didn't get into old school Jurassic Park, man.
No,
That wasn't for me.
Oh, man, that's gonna bother me. I'm trying to think of his name, but
Look it up if you want.
Yeah, no, he's like the mathematician in Jurassic Park. They like bring him in as an
I
expert.
know what you're talking about.
And he's like, life finds a way.
He's in Independence Day.
Yeah, same guy. I cannot think of his fucking name though. That's a goofy motherfucker, by the way. Though I really like him, but I cannot think of his name right now.
Yeah. Well, it was weird, man. I went to Aruba 2 years ago, and I always thought I had this issue with being able to feel my liver and shit,
Mm-hmm.
And I would always feel it. So then we were on our way to Aruba, and it was really bad at that point in time. I don't know if it was because how much I drink and shit.
Probably.
But when we get to Aruba...
I'm not a doctor, but if your liver starts hurting, it's probably from the alcohol.
Bro, 2 weeks ago I got my blood drawn, and they said everything was fine. My liver enzymes were good, everything. Granted, I don't drink as much, but anyways, I swear to you, man, I swear, 100%. We get to Aruba, and legitimately, I have no pains, no aches, nothing. After we moved out of the barn, and then we moved into the duplex in Raymore, I remember I was shoveling snow one day, and I started feeling something in my back, and I thought it was my liver, and I brought it up to you and all our friends.
You don't feel liver through the back. You feel liver up front.
No, liver's right here, bro. I mean, maybe kidney. Okay, you're right.
Kidneys are more back.
Okay, so yes, it is.
I want to say if you feel your liver, it should be more up front.
It is right.
I'm
yeah.
not a doctor.
No, you're right.
I am a CPT though.
Certified, baby.
Certified. Has nothing to do with organs though, besides muscular.
I think so. It was up front. Either way, so we get to Aruba, and I felt nothing, man. It was the greatest thing ever. From what I hear, Aruba has the third best drinking water in the world.
Really?
I don't know how accurate that is, but yeah, that's what they said.
I'm assuming the number one is Fiji.
Yeah.
Just because of product placement.
Right.
And what I see on a daily basis when I walk in a Quick Trip.
Didn't they get sued a few times because their water's just like bullshit?
Probably. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Well, I watched a fucking YouTube video, which I don't know how much this is any value to it, but they did a pH test on bottled water in like Aquafina and the Ozarka and like a bunch of bottled water you would just go and buy has literally the same pH level as the like local tap water. Same fucking pH level. Which obviously they're not doing contaminants, they're just doing, the acidity comparison, like whatever that pH thing is. But actually Fiji water did have a higher pH level as far as hydration goes. From the test that they did.
Oh, it did?
It was slightly higher.
Slightly, yeah.
It was like slightly higher. It was a higher grade of water.
Do you know where they get their water from?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. But I just think it's weird that all that shit went away when I went to Aruba, I mean, like Mother Nature kind of thing. Maybe Aruba's like untapped. Maybe it's just more refined and just... I don't know, man. It was weird. It was really weird.
My opinion about that is you just had a psychological thing. Because vacations are exciting, especially when you go to a place that's so different. You get endorphins constantly. Everything's new. Everything's exciting. That can mask, and change mentality. I want to say that's more of a mental thing than anything else.
I would have to agree, man.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. It makes a lot of sense.
It's probably just the fact that you're at a beautiful place that you've never been to before.
Gorgeous.
And you're
place.
on vacation, and you don't have to worry about work or all the stresses of life are gone away for like 5 days, and all you got to worry about is, Zach Bishop's, dick flopping around somewhere close to your face from these videos that I've seen.
Very
It's your only worry in life.
Well, hey, man. We'll give a shout out to the farmers there. We really weren't trying to go down that road, but we have a few things we're going to talk about tonight. 4 points that we're going to try and get across in a little over an hour, maybe a little bit more or less. But
see what happens.
Yeah, man. Let's go with your first point, not the first point that you want or that we're going to go over. But
yeah, hold off on that one for a minute.
Yeah, this one will be interesting because I've never really talked about it that much. But legalizing prostitution.
Legalizing prostitution. Let's fucking go.
Let's do it.
America, listen to me right now. You want to help better society? You need to legalize prostitution and make sure those girls get taken care of, because I think they're at the forefront of keeping America sane. You.
In what aspect?
I'm gonna try to break
There's
it
so
down.
many different ways.
I'm gonna try to get my point across, because there's so many negative things that are applied whenever people think about prostitution, but it is actually the oldest career known to man that's documented is prostitution. The first money or crop exchange, was for fucking getting laid. Like, that's just, and I don't want to talk like, marriage is fucking beautiful and everything like that, but I'm a libertarian. I believe that people should be as free as they allow themselves to be, as long as they're not hurting other individuals. If you have, amen. If you have a female who is, or male, doesn't matter, who's willing to go and do certain things provide a service that is of a sexual basis for another individual, who's willing to compensate them and be on a safe, like a contractual kind of agreement of, this is what's going to go down. It should be free to fucking happen. You shouldn't be able to tell them, no, you can't do that. I'm not going to allow you to make money that way. If I understand there's so many negative things that come along with it, because a lot of people that get into it have, like drug habits and things like that. But there are also people, like, if you look at in Nevada right now, certain portions around Las Vegas have the brothels, which these are
which is outside of Vegas, though.
Outside of Vegas. I don't think they're allowed to do anything like inside the city limits of Vegas. But you have these strong, independent females that work as contractors for themselves, that sit down and negotiate money and what they're willing to do, and they're perfectly fine with doing it. If they're perfectly fine with doing it and there's a clientele, how can you tell somebody that they can't do that?
Well, they do it there, and it works.
Yeah, and it does work. My thing is, you cannot, any prohibition of any kind of bothers me to an extent, because it's a limit of human freedom. I think whenever you limit freedom, people will end up doing it anyway, because that's what humans are.
And they still do it.
Obviously, prostitution still happens all the time. My main worry is, now you're putting these girls, I say girls, guys also prostitute too, but I want to say the majority of it is like females, and they get put in horrible scenarios, like they have a pimp who robs them of money. They don't, it's supposedly for protection. They should be able to do it from a safe place, controlled place, have, almost like a business setup to where, they can have benefits, things like that. It could be done so much safer.
Oh, yeah.
And not so much to where you're out in the street risking your life, like all these like horrible like rape scenarios that happen. That's, that's horrible. Like, they should be better protected than that. And you can't just say, oh, they should be better protected, and just not do that. If that's what they want to do, and if there's a clientele for that where they can make a bunch of money,
there'll always be a clientele for that.
Exactly. There's always going to be a clientele, and it's very high paying. There's a lot of money in it. So
it's kind of weird if you think about it. The two biggest things that are illegal, in my opinion, in the United States is marijuana and prostitution. And both those things benefit people. Mm-hmm. I mean, imagine what the crime rates would, I personally, I think certain crime rates would go down. I mean, like you said, maybe rape might go down. I don't know. Maybe if those, I don't know what those guys think, but maybe if they had an option to go and pay for sex somewhere else, maybe they would choose that. I don't know.
Do you really think that, like, a female would prefer to have a regulated system where she could be protected and have a legitimate location set up to where, there could be security and the guy would be regulated, contractual, under cameras, or be worried about being caught and putting herself in a detrimental position where, more than one guy could show up and all sorts of bad shit could happen to her. She could get robbed, fucking raped, horrible fucking things happen. So, like, I think it's more protecting the, like, guys and women who prostitute themselves by legalizing it. You were protecting them, and you were able to tax it at that point. Once again, you're able to make money, you legitimize it, and you protect them, because if that's what they're going to do, that's what they're going to do. Because guess what? It's not like prostitution has declined through, prostitution being illegal. It's still very prevalent in every fucking city you go to.
Anywhere.
There's,
you can Google it.
So this is my mentality, is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. You're not keeping you're not.
Who are politicians? Right?
That's so stupid.
Here's the biggest question: why is it illegal?
It's illegal, and I would have to do some research upon like the prostitution laws that have been passed in in the United States, because obviously you have certain places. Because you have certain places like even Las Vegas is starting to do it, but you have Amsterdam. Amsterdam is big on brothels.
Isn't the red light district too?
Yeah.
In Atlanta.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the red light district in Atlanta you're able to as well.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I know. I want to say Nevada was the first.
I mean, bro, when I was 18, you were 17 at that time. It was full nude strip clubs, full nude bed dances. I mean, it was basically prostitution, except maybe not, but it was pretty close. That's
the difference. Oh, and another thing, I don't know if you want to stay on this, but I want to talk about this now. Is so it's illegal to pay a woman to have sex with you unless there's a camera involved. Now, if there's a camera involved and you can use it for your own profits and be able to put it on the internet, and you have your own company, that can for porn, then that's fine. Now you're taxed. Now everything's fine. You can pay her to have sex with you as long as it's on camera and gets put on the internet. Are you kidding me?
That makes absolutely no sense.
No
whatsoever.
fucking sense. This is what I'm saying. And the prison population is fucking high enough in America because of stupid shit like this.
Yeah,
it's stupid shit. I'm not saying that
so it's put in place for a reason, and that's the reason.
And I'm not saying there's bad things that aren't tied to it, as far as like women, or guys who have abusive pasts that get into it. But at the same time, if it's always going to happen, there is no preventing it. It's always going to happen. You need to be able to protect these individuals. You need to fucking legalize it. You need to make sure that they're in a safe environment to be able to do what they were going to do anyway. Well, and quit imprisoning them for it.
Right. So if it
quit making their life worse.
Exactly. But if you were to make it, so here's another question. If you were to legalize it, where would it be? Would it be like strip clubs? Would it be outed in some place that's out in the country where no one can see it, because those parents don't want their kids to see it and ask what it is? But even then, so what if it's on Main Street in Belton? Who cares?
Oh man, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So that's a little bit bigger about location. I don't think it should be in small towns, per se.
So just like big cities.
Big cities. I think it needs to be because at some point you have to regulate it to an extent.
But why not small cities? Why not have it on Main Street where people can just?
I think you need to legalize it, but have it at a place where
what's the difference if
it causes so much more controversy in a small community. It's just
because that's just how it is.
If people were more intellectually set up and like morally sound, then yes, you could get away with that. But I think that's a bigger step.
Yeah.
I think it needs.
How is that a bigger step where human beings, there's a male and a female, and you have sex? If someone wants to pay for sex, you know what I'm saying? I understand where you're coming from. People aren't ready for that.
Mm-hmm. I think it because people tend to flock together. So people with the tendencies to go to places like that, you need to have it out by them. Like smaller towns, I think that would cause more controversy than anything else, especially just like us being in the Midwest. I'm thinking like currently right now,
sure.
If it were to happen right now, it needs to be more regulated but allowed. But mainly for the sake of, keeping those individuals safe.
I think the biggest thing, like you were saying, is just protection. Mm-hmm. And I mean, who knows what it would do to the human trafficking that goes on?
It's horrible.
Yeah,
dude.
and it's big in the United States. I mean,
it's horrible.
Who knows what it would do in that aspect?
Because the second you're able to, all of a sudden it's legalized, nobody's going to be going to these sketchy motherfuckers who are literally enslaving people to, have forced sex with other people for money that they never see, and live drug-filled lifestyles where their pimp is like fucking pumping them with drugs to, go suck dick and shit like that. Like, no, fuck that. No, that's horrible. That shit is happening. If you want to prevent that, you can't just make it fucking illegal. Laws fucking don't solve problems. A law comes about whenever somebody has a problem and they're like, oh, I don't know how to fix it. Let's just make it illegal. We'll put you in jail whenever you do it.
And who made that law?
Stupid.
A fucking man, dude, or a woman. They made that law, and then everyone has to abide by it. It makes no sense. Granted, they vote upon it, but who knows how that system really goes. It's on C-SPAN, but what happens when C-SPAN isn't playing?
Oh, it's so stupid.
It is, man. That's why I think
it needs to be, That's why I think it needs to be, That's why I think it needs to be, legalized. But I think it needs to be 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 legalized. But I you know, where it's at. And that goes with a lot of things too, as far as prohibition. But
yeah. Cool. Well, that's a little bit on prostitution, man. I mean, we're already at the 20-minute mark.
yeah, cool beans.
Yeah, cool beans. This is something you and I get into a lot, and we love this conversation. I don't think we've disagreed yet on any of our topics, which we probably should here shortly in some podcasts, which we will.
No, we will.
Yeah, for real. But let's get into The Matrix, man.
The Matrix.
The Matrix. My favorite trilogy of all time.
We're all plugged
Matrix. We are, dude.
We're all plugged in.
Yes, we are.
Let's fucking do it, man.
Yeah.
Now, I meant to ask you this, but I was waiting up until we were recording to ask you, are we getting into simulation theory, or are we talking on something different?
I mean, simulation theory is part of The Matrix.
Well, okay. So if you're discussing the beautiful 2001 movie starring Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne, one of my favorite actors of all time, by the way.
Is it like that? No, I don't mean, who really knows at that point?
To where our consciousness is literally separately somewhere else, and we are just...
I think that's a possibility.
Of course it's a possibility. Anything's a possibility. I'm going to let you hit this one up. Like, give me the direction of what the picture you're painting for me right now as far as this this reality that we're living in. We in the Matrix.
It's tough, man. I don't really want to go off the movie. Just kind of based on my own reality, The Matrix, to me, it's just the weird shit that happens in life. I mean, not deja vu, which I think that's part of The Matrix. But, I mean, I don't know, man.
Well, to hit on the whole deja vu thing, the human brain has illusionary things to where our perception of actual reality can be warped. And we don't even see, like Plato was big on this, Aristotle was big on this. We can only see what our brains allow us to see and take in.
Yeah.
We can't fully embrace, like you can't see ultraviolet rays, and there's so much shit going on a molecular level and on a cosmic, like we are so limited, you know, we can only experience so much. I don't know if I know that's probably going in.
That's very true, man. I mean, that's crazy to think that what our brain and what our eyes can see isn't the trueness of what's truly going on. Like, it would be dope to be able to see those things and experience those things, but we can't.
You wouldn't even be able to be the same person.
No.
If you could all of a sudden be able to experience everything, you would no longer be a human being. Like, we have human being blinders on that allow us to stay in, you know, on this human level. The second we're able to fucking all of a sudden see molecules, you know, and see ultraviolet light and hear sounds that are out of our spectrum of fucking hearing, all of a sudden now we'd literally go into a whole nother, like, thing.
So a continuous DMT trip.
It'd probably be worse than that.
Yeah.
Being able to experience the entire universe in its entirety all at once that's beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
Like,
I think The Matrix for me, so here's just a small story, and I think I've told you this, but this could be coincidence, but I think some coincidences could be explained through The Matrix, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I'm literally at my friend Blake's house, and I was going to pick up some gloves for work because we ran out, and I drove to his house because he was on his way to Wichita, and he drops me off some of these gloves. Okay, he lives 15 miles away from my house, 15 miles. And I pull up, grab the gloves, we smoke a cigarette, I pull out, and I'm starting to drive, and this guy in this green van just stops by. He rolls down his window, and he points at me, and he's like, roll down your window, and I do, and he's like, hey. And he just starts gibbering off some stuff. I have no idea what he's saying, but he's like, no, something real cheap. I was like, no, man, I'm good. I'm like,
what?
Yeah, I don't know what he said, but at the end he said something real cheap, and I said, no, man, I'm good. I'm good. And that was on a Wednesday.
No, I don't want your stolen the stereo system you were selling out of the back of your car.
No, he wasn't trying to do that. So that was a Wednesday. I roll out my window. I go away. I go back to work. Blake hits me up, and he's just like, what'd that guy want? You know, what was he trying to do? I was like, no, he was just trying to offer me some services or something. I don't know, man, but I said no.
Some services?
Yeah. So
very general.
Thursday goes by, Friday goes by, Saturday goes by, Sunday goes by. Carrie and I are chilling. It's my day off. Next thing you know, this dude pulls up in his fucking van with the same chick that was sitting next to him in my driveway. Not even kidding you. Bro, like he didn't even follow me. So I don't know how he knew where I lived.
This is days later.
This was days later, 4 days later. He literally, and even then, I drove back to work after Blake's. I didn't go to my house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, he knew I drove a Jeep, but like, he didn't follow me. I mean,
no, I know where you lived.
Yeah.
The odds of him.
I got back on the highway. It took me 10 to 15 minutes to get back to work. A few turns here and there. No van, nothing. He didn't, So then Sunday comes. He pulls up, and Karen's like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I fucking...
Did you recognize him off the bat, or did it take you a minute?
No,
like,
no. It did take me a minute, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I opened the door, and I went, and I closed the door, and then I went outside. I'm like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" He looks up at my trees. He's like, "Hey, man," he's like, you need those trees trimmed there for real cheap? And I was like, "No, man, I'm good." He's like, "You sure? Real cheap?" And I'm just like, "No, dude, I don't need my trees trimmed. I'm good." Okay. Gets back in his car, pulls out of my driveway, and drives down the street. He didn't hit up any other houses in the neighborhood. Literally just my house. And just bounced.
Dude, if you would have said that he would have went to other houses and just was like a door-to-door salesman for like that, I would have been like, dude, he's just a hard worker. Yeah. Like he's hitting a broad area. Like you talk about a 15-minute drive, like the radius on that's fucking ridiculous within a 4-day. You couldn't hit that shit with one fucking car in how many days you said? 4?
4 days.
There's no way that you hit that back within that kind of radius. But not even being a hard worker. Okay, so that's what makes it creepy. Even if he was just a hard worker, hit up every house. And wait, did he come up and knock on your door? Is that what you said?
I went outside first before he knocked on the door. I wasn't gonna.
But he was parked outside your house.
He pulled in my driveway.
Pulled in your driveway?
In my driveway. Legitimately, you just see this man pull up. I'm looking outside the window, and he literally just pulls into our driveway.
Dude, that's fucking weird,
It's weird. I mean, I obviously, Garrett's a cop. I asked him. I told him what happened. He's like, "Yeah, man, that sounds hella sketchy." I'm just like, "But how would he know where I live? Maybe he knew I drove a Jeep.
So I don't even know how this works. Can you get somebody's license plate, write it down, and then figure out where they live from their license plate?
Well, yeah.
You can just go and like Google search a license plate.
No, you'd have to know someone. I mean, you can do the public file. You go up to the police department. You can ask for a criminal record on anyone.
Who would go through that kind of fucking trouble?
No. Oh, well, like for him.
For him, what would be like?
The thing
dude,
is,
that's just weird.
The thing is, he wasn't like maybe like he just looked rough, beaten up. Like he wouldn't go through all that trouble just to find out where I live. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he was a criminal and maybe he recognized my Jeep, but to me that was kind of like maybe it was just coincidence.
By the way, he did not recognize your Jeep. I'm not saying your Jeep is different, but there are a lot of Jeeps fucking like your Jeep.
There's like 4 or 5 different blue Jeeps like mine in Belton.
Yeah, like alone.
Yeah.
Like so it's not like you're driving some like crazy fucking different kind of car.
Just weird, man.
No, that is very weird.
To me, since I believe in the Matrix, that was something similar to, or that describes the Matrix to me. It was just something very strange and weird.
Okay. All right. I see where you're coming from. Like something outside of humanity that is for some unforeseen reason on our behalf that we will never know why this guy asked you about fucking tree cutting services at Blake's house came directly to your house 4 days later, which there is no way that he could possibly just within, so you said a 15-minute drive over some highway fucking time, by the way. So you're probably talking about
majority high time.
Yeah, so
there's 4 or 5 different exits.
So you're talking about like a 30-mile radius, basically, probably like 30 miles.
Yeah.
25 to 30 miles.
Yeah.
30-mile radius. You being the epicenter, he being all the way on the outside. 30-mile radius. Somehow within 4 days, he ended up back here. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, very.
And I could see that being all of a sudden like, what are the fucking odds of that?
Yeah.
In which there are odds of it that it could have just happened, or there could be some fun fucking like unforeseeable matrixy reason back behind it. I don't know.
Well, I came back inside and Karian's like, "Did you ask him if he knew that was you? Like he was the person you talked to when you were over at Blake's?" I was like, "No, I didn't think about it, but I should have. But I'll never get that chance again."
No, you won't.
Unless I see his green van, I'm gonna fucking follow that motherfucker.
Yeah, no. Now you probably creep the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
Next time you see him.
Well, he might be on some meth. I mean, I'm not gonna judge the guy, but he seemed pretty rough. I don't know, man.
If he's going door to door and
he wasn't though.
That's weird, man.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I want to say that's like my brain is telling me that that's just coincidence, but that's also very.
There's no way that's coincidence, bro. He pulled up to my house in my driveway 4 days later.
I feel like everybody has moments like that, but not as creepy as yours.
I think that's the Matrix, man. That's the Matrix.
Or it's so the Matrix to you is, you know, that saying that people, after like they see somebody that they were just talking about, like maybe within the past like 48 hours, and then all of a sudden they see him and they walk in. They haven't seen him in years, but they talked about him in like 48 hours.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's a small world.
Yeah.
They're like, man, it's a small world. That's the Matrix for you, right? Where you're like, man, that's weird. Like shit's getting manipulated in some way.
Yeah.
Pieces are lining up in unforeseeable fucking ways. That's, you know, is causing shit. And you don't know what's attracting other things.
Like you're talking about, like if we talk about someone at work and then they end up at the bar like 40 minutes later.
Like what if it was just a small thing? Like if it was like simulation theory, like everything's a fucking program. Like he came across to you and was somehow attracted to fucking your location fucking later on, given just some shit, and just felt compelled to fucking go there.
Yeah.
And ask if you wanted your tree cut.
Right.
To creep you out, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. It's chaotic. We live in a chaotic world. You don't know, man.
I know, exactly. I'll never find out, man. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, that is crazy.
You've had any experiences like that before?
I have. One with, whenever it comes to like individual people, I cannot remember. I know that I have those kind of things where I'm like, oh man, it's a small world. Like I was just talking about this person and this person shows up, or like a weird thing happens. I've had a time where this is the first thing that comes to mind, basically, is me and my cousin Joel were playing NES, and so Nintendo. We're playing Nintendo, Super Mario, and something about Mario being able to jump up and then change direction midair. We both said we were talking about, I don't know what we were saying, but we both said uncanny ability at the same time. The two words uncanny and ability at the same time, like just doing this. And we both looked at each other like, that's weird, man. Because normally like people will say like simple words, you know, at the same time, but to say uncanny ability at the same time, like we were both just like, man, that's great minds think alike, I guess. Like that was almost like a Matrix moment for me. Like that, I was like, that shouldn't have happened, because I've never combined those two words before, you know, ever in my life, and neither is he, and it's both at the same time, like literally in the same tone of voice and everything, and matched up perfectly.
How old were you?
I was probably like 14.
Yeah.
I was 14.
I mean, still, you remember it. It's been that long, and it's still prevalent in your mind. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Talking
There's a lot of a lot more instances that's happened to me. I just can't really remember them right now. But deja vu really freaks me out, dude. That shit's crazy. That shit really fucks me up.
I think deja vu is just more an error of human, because it only lasts so long.
I've had it happen. I mean, I think 30 seconds is the max. It's like legitimately happened to me lengthwise. Like as I'm in conversation and having that conversation and being in that moment, I'm like, holy fuck, it feels like it's happened before.
I feel deja vu all the time at work, man, because I'm so routine.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's true.
But some like weird things, like I remember like looking one time that really almost was like frightening, was I was young again. I was probably like 10 years old, on my way to St. Louis, going through a portion of St. Louis that I'd never been through before. And I remember being really, really tired and looking at streetlights passing, and then seeing like seeing buildings, and then having this like, oh, I've been here. I've been here before. Like I remember this. I remember the next one that's coming up. And then all of a sudden I was like, what the fuck? Like I've seen this. Like that was super heavy deja vu for me, being like 10 years old, being in a place I'd never been, but literally already knowing what was going to be the next building coming up, looking out of the window. Yeah, in an area that I know I'd never been to before.
That's the Matrix, bro.
But I was like, oh, this building's coming up.
That's a glitch in the Matrix. There's no other way to explain it.
So weird, man. So weird.
Okay, yeah. So now here's one more instance I have. This is after I moved out of the duplex with Jordan, the one in Raymore. And I was going to work one day, and this is when I had the Fusion. And I don't remember what song it was, but my radio was turned on to 98.9 The Rock. That's what it was on before I got in the car. I remember it.
Shout out to Johnny Dare, by the way. Yeah. Kansas City local.
That's
good
right.
Guy.
He is. But for some reason, I start singing this song in my head just before I even get in the car. This rock and roll song. And I didn't know it was on 98.9. I mean, maybe the night before I knew, but the next day you forget all that bullshit. So I get in my car, I'm singing this song, turn the car on, and as the car turns on, it's literally the song that I was singing out loud or in my mind, and it was literally the words as I was singing it.
Really?
I'm not even kidding you.
No shit,
No
dude.
shit, dude. No shit.
So you gotta like look at, I want to like sit down with a mathematician and to have somebody be able to, which I don't even think you could break that down.
No.
The odds of that happening. Like, that's extreme, dude.
Yeah. Very.
That's extreme.
Yeah. I was just like, in the moment, I was just like, holy fuck, that's badass. And I'm just like, I want to tell someone, but I was like, no one's going to believe me. And I was like, I'm going to forget. And then I was just like, whatever.
I don't like to believe in it so much that it's the Matrix and our conscious is somewhere else. Is our conscious able to move, our consciousness able to move other places after this? It's very possible. Or if it's like mobile and like transit in some sense. But I would like to think that we are very much connected to literally everything because we're made up of everything in this universe.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought maybe it was the radio waves got into my mind somehow, and then that's just how it happened.
So if it's almost like a spiritual thing, like what people call spiritual, I don't like to use the word spiritual at all because I avoid any, you know me, I avoid any religion at all costs. But if it's almost kind of like this interconnection with everything else that's around us, and I think sometimes we just unknowingly maybe align, and then just things, like we're in perfect tune with something else that we're not aware of, and it just works out. Like, I don't know.
I don't even know what you call that.
Yeah, that's why we call it deja vu, and and all these other things are. People say that they have interactions with like ghosts and all that, man. Like you.
Yeah, I haven't really fucked with a ghost before, so the only time I can ever really, never.
I saw a demon once.
Yeah, but was it sleeping while you were sleeping?
No, not at all. I was at church camp.
And you saw a demon.
I saw a demon. Yeah.
So then, how do you not believe in like afterlife or something?
It was, well, at the time, what I thought was it. I was horrified, man, and I wasn't the only one to see it too. So I'm gonna have to break down the story for you, and I'll tell you how I feel about it afterwards. So I'm either 13 or 14. I'm going through. It's called Advancement Academy in the Royal Rangers group, which nobody's gonna fucking know who the Royal Rangers are. They're the Christian Boy Scouts. It's an Assembly's God version of Boy Scouts. It's a week-long camp where all you do is you sit in a cabin, you wake up to bugles in the morning, you stand outside and come to attention, and then you go to breakfast, and then you go to classes for the rest of the day to earn these merits, whether it's like, like swimming or they had like stone cutting or like basic survival and just like knot tying. It's in classic like Boy Scout stuff.
In the middle of nowhere, right?
It was actually at John Knox.
Okay.
Right around, I can't remember. It's like Southern Missouri. No, it's like no, I'm sorry. It's like Southern Missouri. It's fuck man, I can't remember the name of the camp where I was. But it was like Southern Missouri.
Okay.
I'll think of it later. But I remember we would have these every night. They'd have a big bonfire, and then we'd have like a kind of like this like worship ceremony. It literally makes you cringe talking about this.
Oh, I've been to church camp.
Yeah, where you'd sing. There'd be a small like sermon, and then everybody would pray over each other, and it would just be out in the wilderness, and there'd be all this. Me and my best friend at the time, his name's Joseph. I won't say his last name. I haven't talked to the dude in forever. But me and him ended up separating from the group and going back to the cabin early for some reason from one of these like things. And it's about a mile where we were. Me and him were going. We're just, we're talking. We had fun that day. Like we at the pool. We're having a good time. We, all of a sudden, coming up right around the bend to where the cabin is, and there was like literally a line. I remember this where we hung like our swimming trunks and our towels for like the swimming pool. There was this, me and him both stopped simultaneously. There was this shadowy figure, and this is all I remember. He was about like It was this like grainy, shadowy figure in the darkness by these trees, and its back was turned to us, almost like muscular, like
A human figure?
big. I want to say it was human figure, but it was grainy, almost grainy and dark. It was weird, man. It's hard to.
It wasn't
hard
a
to
human.
describe.
It wasn't a projection.
It was
You could,
no, it was grainy. It was dark, and it had its head down, so its back was to us. Its back was to us, and its head was down.
How far away were you from it?
Like 20 feet. 20 feet. Me and Joseph both stop. We don't say a fucking word, and we immediately turn around and fucking bolt. We don't fucking say a word to each other, and we both start fucking
Like
running.
it wasn't a chance that someone was trying to prank you guys?
No. Not at all. Not at all. Fucking, like, literally ran back to the camp. We were fucking out of breath, and we were like, what did you just see? And we was like, that thing with its head down. That
You guys
thing
didn't
with
say
its head
shit to
down.
anyone?
No.
Bro, fuck that.
No, me and him never talked about it earlier. I remember walking back to the cabin with everybody else because we ran back to where everybody else was at like where we did the sermon and the bonfire, and literally we're in like the middle. Like me and him were like nearly holding hands, like nearly holding hands and like arms together, like walking back to the cabin, and then remembering like walking back by the clothesline. Like just looking there and being like, "Fuck."
So you do believe in demons then?
It was weird, man. The best way I could describe it was it was not good.
I mean, you had to have felt a negative presence.
It was something. Yeah. It was darker than the shadow that it was in, and grainy.
Yeah.
And it was clearly, you could see the outline of it, and it was like its head was down. It's like it was looking down at the ground, just standing there.
Well, it almost sounds
big,
like,
dude.
People at church camp, maybe they,
fucking big, man.
in order to get people to believe in God more, they just projected that. But even then, back then, they didn't have that kind of technology.
No, dude.
That's
no.
fucking crazy,
Trust me.
bro.
Me and him, and we really never talked about it ever since. And we hung out after that too, and we never really fucking talked about it.
Oh, I wouldn't either.
But on the way back, like after we sprinted back to where everybody else was, we were like, what was that? And then we were just like literally awestruck.
That's like
didn't
some
know how to handle
Stranger
it.
Things kind of shit, man.
Seriously, didn't know. It was very frightening. It was very frightening.
Yeah, I've never experienced anything like that. Just
So
like,
I want to say it's not a demon because you know that I'm not spiritual, but there was at the same time, like I'm not religious, but I can't say that there's not spiritual shit. And a lot of spiritual shit like praying and like laying out of hands was happening, and they had like bonfires, and I always felt uncomfortable with that particular group of Assemblies of God, the Royal Rangers. I didn't like the way that they went about things, but yeah, man, that's definitely ingrained into my memory. I remember feeling frightened, and the fact that another person was there to like validate.
Oh yeah,
the same thing, man, was it was very frightening. Very, very frightening.
I've had demonic dreams, but nothing like that. That's fucking
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. Hey, that's a good subject on the Matrix. I was wanting to try and do some research on it, but I think that was better, just going off what we thought and our experiences with it and shit like that.
Yeah,
but,
that was solid.
I mean, we got our last subject coming up, man, and this is you. I'm not too familiar with a lot of what's going on with this, but today is Easter.
It is.
Today's Easter, man.
It's Easter.
What do you got going on with Easter, bro?
So what's my beef?
What's your bone?
What's my beef with Easter? It's a fucking pagan holiday. It is a pagan ass fucking holiday.
So does everyone celebrate Easter? I mean, or what religions celebrate it?
I mean, when it comes to Christianity, everybody, especially Catholics are real big on Easter.
Are Jewish people?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's only Christian, because it has to do. You can't see the air quotes that I'm doing because I'm,
It's when Jesus was resurrected.
Yes,
right?
when Jesus was resurrected from the tomb 3 days after his crucifixion.
So it was
supposedly
weird.
that's what they what they think that it's based off of.
Well, it's so weird how humans are, man. Because on Friday we were so busy up until like 3 or 4 o'clock, and I guess 3 o'clock is when he resurrected. So that's when we were really, really slow during the day. Because I mean, it's crazy how much religious people.
Really?
Yeah, that's just what I had heard. But it's crazy how much religious people influence us like that. But go ahead, sorry.
Oh man, people have it so wrong, and you know me, I'm anti-religious, but Easter is one of those days where I'm like, man, these people really don't know what the fuck they're celebrating. Like, this is a pagan holiday.
How so?
It's a pagan holiday. This is where Easter comes from. It has to do with the spring equinox. It's very close to it. I know it's not directly at the same time, but it's closely related to the spring equinox and is celebrated because of its like life-giving and like birth, and the crops will start coming in and things like this. It's very pagan. So why do we have Easter eggs and bunny rabbits on Easter?
I have no idea.
On the day that Jesus died. Just like, because we live in a Christian nation, right? Basically, yeah. Like Easter is big because of Jesus' resurrection. But if you go to any church, they have like Easter egg hunts. You go and find eggs, and there's always like little peeps, bunny rabbits, and things like that. It all has to do with fertility, because the goddess, and I cannot remember a name. This is what was pissing me off before we started the podcast, because I couldn't remember a name. Because what I really starts with an S, and it's different in each culture. Pagan religion changes, depending on which region of the world that you're in. They tend to be the same god or goddess.
It's a different name, yeah.
But yeah, they have a different name. So she has a bunch of different names, but it's basically the god of fertility. Like, it might be Aphrodite. I don't know if you're talking like Greek, but basically, like egg, it shows for like ovulation of ovulation. Rabbits mate a lot. Like, they have a bunch of kids. It's all about fertility. And one thing I wanted to get into, as opposed to show you kind of where the crossover was, where it got into the Christian religion and why the Catholics got into it and why it's like present here in America, is because of Constantine. So Constantine had this issue with pagan religion and Christianity, where they were like butting heads about everything. So Constantine came in and he literally combined the two. He literally said, as opposed to I need to stay on path here with just strictly Easter. So he combined the resurrection of Jesus Christ as a celebration, which, by the way, wasn't anywhere close to this time as far as the calendar year of the time, but had to do with the resurrection of the sun in the pagan religion. So he literally combined the resurrection of Jesus Christ and his own pagan religion, because Constantine worshipped the sun directly.
He had a lot of influence.
Yeah, well, he ruled. He ruled over them all. But Christians were becoming a heavy influence. He had to keep them happy. He didn't want to go to war with them. You got to keep them happy. Yeah. So he literally combined, to make everybody happy, his religion of celebrating the spring equinox and the rebirth of the sun coming back for longer periods of time, crops coming back up, and the rebirth of Jesus Christ at the same time. Combine the holiday.
He's a smart guy.
Called it Easter. Keep everybody chill, right?
Yeah.
It goes even farther than that. And there are certain things about the Bible too. Like, Jesus started his ministry at 30 years old, and it ended at 33. The sun, within the degree in which it is in the sky over certain constellations, always goes from 30 degrees to 33 degrees. And it's also heavenly dealt with in Masonry. You know, like the Freemasons? Yeah. Like Freemasons, the highest degree you can get.
33, yeah.
33. Mm-hmm. This is very pagan-based. It's not religious-based, people think it's based off Jesus. This is all based off very pagan things. So whenever you see a bunch of Christian people out picking eggs out in the field, just know that it's based off of a pagan goddess of fertility, from that was spread out throughout the world, that had nothing to do with it. And the only reason why it's combined is because Constantine was like, I don't want a war, and these are already ignorant people, so I'm going to keep them ignorant and just combine shit and tell them that it's okay.
Is it in writing that Constantine did this?
Oh yeah. This is well known, man. So you have hardcore Christians, by the way. Hardcore Christians say the same thing that I do. They're like, we need to quit celebrating Easter. The same thing with Christmas. They're like, we need to quit celebrating Easter, quit celebrating Christmas, because it's pagan-based holidays. Yeah. But it's a mainstream, just nobody gives a shit. They live in their own fucking little world. They don't even know what they believe in. They just, oh, I'm a Christian. I'm just going to represent it the best way that I can.
People text me today and said, Happy Easter. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, please don't text me and say Happy Easter.
I honestly appreciate it more for the pagan idea of it, at the fact that the spring is coming and the weather's about to get nicer.
I do like that. You're right.
But you don't worship it. You don't fucking
happy spring.
But you don't go sacrificing babies and shit.
No.
like how they used to do. I don't know if that's actually what they did, but I'm sure they had some fucked up ceremonies at some point of some shit. But you don't do that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about Easter, man. I just know as a kid I did the egg thing. I ate the beeps, I ate the chocolate bunny, and I enjoyed a shit ton of candy, bro. It was like a mini Halloween.
I need to get super well informed and spend like a couple weeks just focusing on the what happened after like post Constantine and the Catholic religion, of when the Catholics all of a sudden started incorporating all these pagan religious things into their religion.
So Constantine was pagan, right?
Oh yeah.
So what is pagan? Is there any correlation to Jewish people with paganism?
No. So being a pagan is you worship the sun, you worship gods and goddesses of different
Greek mythology and stuff like that.
Yes, but it changes. It's there's so many of them because it changes culturally. Like pagan is just very so there's like goddess of fertility is also the goddess of moon for them, and she has a name. She has a different name in this region of the world that pretty much has the same feel, same like background story. Like they all have very like crazy mythological stories that could never fucking happen, like chariots of fire, and was born out of a river and shit. Your father is a hippo, and like that's and they have that's their gods and goddesses, and they each have a tie to some human aspect, like fertility or crop growing or weather or death or sadness.
It seems like pagans in like a lot of shit we do. So I'm just curious why it's so big and why it's kind of behind the scenes, because it's never talked about.
Dude, it's in everything.
I know, but it's in everything. It's never talked about.
The Miller light bottle. You ever see that girl on the moon?
Mm-hmm.
There's that same goddess of fertility represented right there.
Well, in DreamWorks too, right? The movies.
Yeah. Dude, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
There are these, and whether or not
symbolism.
It's on purpose,
so pagan's big into symbols.
Yes, it's constant because they worshipped the equinoxes, the changing of the seasons. Everything is very earth and solar based.
Yeah.
And human emotions tied to those that are also tied in with the constellations.
So if I had my guess, the Egyptians were probably pagan as well.
That's going to be a pagan religion.
Yeah, and the Mayans and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well,
so it was never really taught about paganism or anything like that.
I'm pretty sure they all correlate to the same thing, like right. Latin, Greek, and man, I'm not an expert. I would love to have an expert come on, because I would love to hear somebody sit down and talk and kind of like paint the big picture for me.
Right.
When it comes to, because all the Christianity that says every other religion's wrong, the majority of their religion's based off shit that they think is evil and would like burn books on, even though that's the origin of what they're doing. Do you know? Okay, so this is what's funny. This is a funny little aspect here. Christian religion is basically the affirmation of the Jewish religion that said a savior will come, save the world, like final sacrifice, stuff like that. A lot of Jewish people don't believe that that's happened yet. They're still waiting on that savior to come. Christians believe that Jesus came, and that was the prophesied Messiah that came, is what the Christian religion is. Now, the holy day for their original religion was on Saturday, the Sabbath. The Sabbath is on Saturday, not Sunday. Sunday, Constantine also changed. Initially, Christians would worship God and go to church on Saturday. He changed it to Sunday because Sunday was the day that he worshiped the sun. Literally, very literal translation, Sunday was the day, is very pagan, the day that you worship the sun, which is the big thing. In all pagan religions, all the main gods are all represented by the sun that comes up in the sky. Sunday, literally representation of sun. Christians go to church nowadays on Sunday, not Saturday, the Sabbath. Pagan as fuck.
And it's in the Bible that they did this on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, they don't even think twice about it. They just read over it and that's it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Sabbath is definitely on a Saturday.
You got to think though how easy it is these people are to be influenced, because
so easy.
I mean, you look at the Second Amendment, the March for Our Lives, and just these people, bro. I can't even tell you how many times, like, if you watch High Impact Films, he's an awesome man. Subscribe to him on YouTube, but he would literally just be like, so you're for gun control, right? And they're like, yeah. He's like, do you trust the government? No. Who's going to control the guns? And then the people in their head, they just look at and they're like, oh shit, who's going to control the guns? And then, you know, but these people, like, they're literally, they don't think, they just, I don't know, it's crazy, man.
But this is how it's always been. Like, the reason why the Catholics were able to get away with this, this literally distortion of an already very distorted, incorrect religion, because trust me, the Christian religion would have died off really quick if people didn't believe in, like, people like Hercules or demigods. That's the only reason why Jesus was able to stay around back then. People came up and they were talking about Jesus and like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like Zeus was a thing back then.
Yeah.
And they were like, the only reason why they believed him is because they've already heard stories of demigods before.
Yeah.
But nobody believes in fucking Hercules anymore.
No.
Nobody believes in that fucking shit.
I mean, not in America.
That's the only reason why it stuck around. Catholics fucking kept it going because they literally didn't want people reading. They kept people ignorant as fuck. Working farms, and they, like, a bunch of white guys fucking in this fucking cathedral somewhere literally planned out their fucking religion and how it was going to be. Eliminated books.
Yeah, the Cardinals.
This book doesn't work.
They were the Cardinals, right?
Yeah, Cardinals and the fucking Pope. They were like, oh, this book, we need to get rid of this book because it doesn't line up with our beliefs now.
Yeah.
It's been so manipulated fucking over time and mixed in with pagan fucking mythology and all mixed in with solstices and fucking and constellations and literally Christians are like, oh, the pagans, and oh, you do horoscopes? You do horoscopes? Oh, you're going to hell. You do horoscopes. Half your fucking religion's based off horoscopes. 12 disciples. The Son of God went around with 12 disciples 12 months of the year. Literally traveled with 12 disciples. That's literally a representation of the physical sun in our sky.
It goes on
within
and
the
on
12 calendar fucking month is literally where that's fucking derived from. Oh, dude, I get heated about that.
I know, and just these people, they refuse to listen or do anything else, you know.
No,
they just,
it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
It's literally a cultural thing. Like we, and it's kind of like the same thing with sports. Even though I don't think sports is nearly as harmful as religion, because you don't see Bill Belichick telling you to hate fucking gays and fucking burn them at the fucking stake. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, we get pumped about that shit because it makes us, you know, all of a sudden we're connected with other people. But it's not a good way to connect with people. We can connect in other ways besides religion. I understand we need that as human beings. We need that kind of social interaction. We need to feel this collective, like, tribal fucking thing that religion gives you. But religion, like, it's 2018.
Yeah.
We got to start fucking getting over this stupid fucking shit.
I mean, yeah, you can believe in higher being. I mean, but a book that's, I mean,
Yeah.
we can, yeah. I've never read it, man. I've never read it, so I can't really
Don't waste
judge
your
it.
time.
Exactly.
I'll be the expert on that because
Right.
I've been through it.
For sure, man. I've tried reading pieces and bits, and, you know, like Revelations and stuff like that. But I mean, man, it's just not, like you said. I'm not necessarily gonna waste my time. But I mean, if I pray to someone and I do pray to God, I mean, I like to call him God because God's a fucking cool name. Like God, God. Like, you think God, you're like fucking God, man. Like, he's cool as fuck.
The debate about whether or not a God or a higher power exists is pointless. You cannot prove or disprove God.
Right.
But what I can say is all the religion here on earth is complete and utter rubbish. Absolute fucking rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, like the Buddhas, and maybe I don't know how that works or anything. I think like being in touch with nature and shit like that's pretty cool.
No, like Buddhist. Okay, that's almost like transcending religion. By the way, Buddhism is literally transcending religion because they're so accepting of other people's religion.
Yeah.
As opposed to where like you
God,
find like mainstream Christian, like mainstream Christianity is so
annoying. Literally on PBS, bro. And this is cable television. Last week it was like Monday night, and this like PBS channel 19.3, and these fucking two missionaries go to like this other country, which, you know, like to do the missionary trips or whatever. I forget what country, but it was an Asian country or something like that, just trying to spread the word of gospel and God. And they hike this fucking mountain to where there's these sheep herders, and like they stay at their house and try and preach the name of God to these people who don't care. It's just insane. It's insanity.
And if anything, they go to countries that are so third world, that are so, like, they live their day by whether or not are they able to get clean water today? They don't know. Are they able to eat today? They don't know. You come in there with food, and you start feeding them, and then you have a smile on your face, they're going to start listening to what you have to say. And they'll believe in whatever the fuck you want to, you know, whatever the fuck you need. I'll believe in whatever. Do I keep getting food and I keep getting clean water? Then yeah, I'll fucking believe in your fucking religion. You put anybody in that scenario, they're gonna fucking do that. We're a survivor. Like, we survive. That's our main goal. And if you're telling me what I need to do is survive physically the next day is to all of a sudden agree with your religion and get on my knees and put my hands like this and say John 3:16 and all this shit, then yeah, they're gonna fucking do that. If they keep getting fucking free food and fucking water.
Oh yeah. So I had this
bad.
one experience, man. This was when I was serving at 143rd, and I was just serving one night, and there was this bald guy or something like that, and I was serving him. He's he was wanting to talk and shit, and he came in a few other times, and he kind of became a regular. And he's just like, hey, you know what? He's like, you remind me of a young Nicolas Cage. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's my favorite actor at that point in my life. Now I'm no longer. He's not my favorite actor, but whatever. But I was just like, why did that guy say that? Like, that's so weird. So instantly that struck me. We exchanged numbers, not because of what he said about Nicolas Cage, but we exchanged numbers just to talk. And he was, all right, yeah. So anyways, this guy, we exchanged numbers, and then he starts trying to preach God to me. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, ever since I've let God into my life, I've just randomly started having, financial success. He's like, I'm getting like checks in the mail for money and all this. And I was young. So anyways, I'll make a long story short. This dude invites me over to have some drinks with his friends over a text.
Yeah. And
that's where I ended it. I never talked to that guy again.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that all Christians are bad. There are very good Christians out there who do great things for society. I think they're just misled within the origins of why they're doing the good things that they're doing. If you ever have the mentality that you are doing a good thing because somebody else or some higher power is allowing you to do it, you're an evil fuck. Like seriously, like, oh, if God doesn't exist and everybody would be, I'd just be able to go around and just rape everybody I wanted to and kill whoever I wanted to. I'm like, if that's your fucking mentality, then you're just a piece of shit. Like, you need more than God. You need to be hospitalized if that's your mentality, that if you don't have some kind of religion that you're going to go out and just rape and murder all you want, you have a mental fucking problem. By the way, it sounded like that guy was trying to fucking get up in that ass.
Oh, I know, man. I know. I'm glad I'm smart enough not to do that, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but you talk about something that's abused is also the Christian religion. There was this, I read this on Imager the other day. There is this pastor, and I don't know if this is true or not. I didn't do too much research in on this. But I want to say it was Florida or fucking Africa or some shit. I don't know. Florida and Africa are basically the same thing to me. That this guy convinced people that holy milk. No, it was Brazil. I'm sorry, it was Brazil. This guy convinced his followers that holy milk came from his penis. Is what he convinced a bunch of followers, and a bunch of husbands ended up having to kick his ass because once again, you get in a position of power, you fucking abuse it. You're trying to get his dick sucked, basically.
You see those weird documentaries with guys who claim they're Jesus and shit, man.
I love those, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's people probably in a small village right now in a mountain range somewhere that it's a cult where a guy says he's Jesus.
And you can. The only time you're recognized as a religion in the United States is if the leader who developed the religion is dead. And I think they do that for a good reason. Because if they were to recognize a religion with somebody running the religion, then he would literally just, go off and do horrible things. Like, what's his face was like Scientology. Everybody knows that Scientology is completely fucked.
Yeah.
Like, so fucked. But
Kansas City's remodeling an old building for Scientology downtown.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Fucking, yeah.
Well, cool, man. It's a good podcast.
Yeah, it was a good podcast.
Hey, thanks for anyone who listened to the duration of this podcast, man. Talk Junkies coming at you hard in your face.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Email us, get in contact with us. If you want to hear us talk about something, fucking hit us up. We'll fucking talk about it. I would love, we actually haven't discussed this yet. I would love some people to.
Yeah, comment below, put what you want, give it a thumbs up, subscribe.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
We will.
Yeah.
It's only going to get better.
Yeah, it will only get better.
Later.
Bye.